Welcome back to part 2 of our Advanced Adcol webinars. In this session, we're going to look at comparing taxes. So which airlines allow total tax to total tax comparison when working out your additional collection. Then we'll have a look at partially used reissues and reissues ex other countries. Again, this webinar runs for approximately 20 to 30 minutes. It is a pre-recorded session, so if you're able to pause and take a break, then you can do so at your discretion. So comparing taxes. Sometimes what we aren't aware of are the different processes that certain airlines take when comparing taxes for reissue calculations. There are actually 6 airlines where you are permitted to calculate total tax to total tax values when reassessing an Adcol. These airlines are Qantas, Singapore Airlines, Virgin Australia, Emirates, Etihad and British Airways. So for these 6 airlines, whenever you are working out an additional collection, you need to remember that you can take total value from total value for your tax calculations. The process for calculating total tax to total tax just involves looking at the old values on the original e-ticket and just minusing the fair value from the total ticket value. So we can see in our example 1 there, take the total ticket value from your e-ticket and minus the fair value. In this example, we have a total ticket value of $2,453.45, and we just minus the $1,519 of our fair value, which gives us an old tax value of $934.45. To find our new taxes, we can either get that from the filed fare, so when you FQ, it will give you your tax amount. In this example, we have $941.15, or you can use the same process in the filed fare and just take the fair value from your total ticket value. So when we calculate the difference here, we have $934.45 on our original e-ticket. Our new taxes is $941.15. So our tax difference would be $6.70. So essentially what the airlines are allowing you to do, these 6 airlines listed, is use credit from original ticket taxes to pay for new taxes. So the reason we always want to do this is so we're not overcharging passengers. If you think of an example where you might have a Qantas ticket going into and out of London, and the passenger now wishes to reroute their ticket and come out of, say, Paris, we're no longer paying those high GB taxes, GB and UB taxes. And by comparing total tax to total tax, we're able to use that large amount, which is usually between $100 and $200, to pay for your new taxes from coming in or out of Paris. Without being able to do that, we would forfeit the GB tax amount and we would have to pay the new Paris tax amounts. So it's quite good to follow this process for these airlines that do permit this, because we're saving a fair bit of money in these instances. Just to show you where you can access that information, we can refer to the Airline Information Index once again, and I'll just show you on 2 pages. So Singapore Airlines was one of our airlines. Again, under our How To and Handy Hints, in our Reissue Additional Information heading, we have a listing here, total tax to total tax comparison on reissues is now permitted. To show you another example, on our Etihad Airlines page, under our How To and Handy Hints guide, reissues additional information, and we have taxes. Total tax to total tax calculations are permitted. So to recap, if you have one of these 6 airlines, Qantas, SQ, BA, EK, EY or BA, you can use total tax to total tax calculations for your international Adcols. For other airlines, their process is to look at individual tax codes. So what we need to do is display the e-ticket and go into the e-ticket data, and then we need to display our filed fare for our new fare value, and we need to look at our individual tax codes. So on the ticket, you can see in the above example, next to our fare value, we have 55 AU tax, and then we can compare it down to our filed fare, 55 AU. On an e-ticket, it will group your taxes under XT, but we can find the breakdown of those, which is just after your fare calculation on your e-ticket. So you'll see next to the rate of exchange here, we have XT again, and a continuation or a breakdown of our original taxes, which we can then compare individual tax to individual tax on our new filed fare. Okay, moving on now to partially used reissues. So what I have here is an example in the workbook, but then I also have another live example that will go into Galileo, and we'll work through that example together. So just looking at the process of calculating a reissue for a partially used ticket. So what we need to do for partially used reissues, they require a quote using the travel portion of the ticket and the sectors that are yet to be travelled. So we want to quote the entire itinerary, the flown and the yet to be flown. So that way we are comparing apples to apples, as they say. So we follow the standard Adcol process. Find our fare difference, we find our tax difference, we work out our reissue fee, and we add it all up together. So let's work through this one and have a look at what we need to do. So we would display HTE and find our old fare value from our original ticket. In this example, it is $1,575. Now we need to work out what our new fare value would be. So for partially used reissues, our new fare value equals the travel portion of the itinerary plus the new return portion. These values can be historically quoted together by using the non-active air products in the P&R's history. So we simply use the entry display H, which will show us our non-active air products. So these are the flown sectors. Then we want to historically fair quote our sectors, and we can confirm what entry to use just by referring to the airline information page and the table that we went through in Part 1's webinar. Our airline is BI, so I'm just going to refer to the BI airline information page. Scrolling down again to our how-to and handy hints, our reissue after departure. We can use historical quote and collect any fare and tax difference and reissue fee if applicable. So historically quoting, partially used reissues, just back to what we were looking at in Part 1 webinar, quoting historical fares, partially used quoting historical fare and taxes. We use FQC, the carrier code, our .t modifier, and the date from our original ticket issuance. So historically fair quote, sectors 1 and 2, which is sectors 1 and 2 from our non-active air products, our flown segments, and sectors 3 and 4, which are our new sectors in our live itinerary. So FQC BI / sector relate S1-2 and 3-4, our .t modifier, which will give us historical fare and historical taxes, back to the 7th of July 14, which is the original ticket issuance date. If the itinerary is fine, it will return a fare quote. And what we can then do is just take the fare value from this fare quote as our new fare value. So we are now comparing our old total fair value to our new total fair value. We would then work out the tax difference. BI, you need to look at individual tax code to individual tax code. Then we would find our applicable change fee, add our amounts together to get our total additional collection and quote this amount to the customer. So we're just going to have a look at an example now. So if we just refer to this ticket in Galileo, our original e-ticket is a reissue of a reissue. So you can tell from the ticket that the passengers did have a Gladstone, Brisbane, Dubai on their original ticket. They were returning 11 November and 12 November in Tango class, and they're actually wanting now sectors 5 and 6, and they want 12 June Dubai Brisbane, 13 June Brisbane Gladstone. Our original Tango class was not available, so we do have a change of booking class here to Lima class. So this is where our .t and quoting our non-active air products comes in really handy, because we're actually able to quote our original fare with our new fare, a change of fare basis, and quote the two together and make sure that everything is fine, that our combinability is fine for our itinerary, and that we get a perfect fare quote for our new booking class. So if we follow the process together, our original fare value on our e-ticket is $1,699. Now we want to find our new fare value. So I will use display H and look in the history of the P&R for our non-active air products. So these are the flown segments on the original e-ticket. I now want to quote sectors 1 and 2 together and sectors 5 and 6, all as one itinerary. So EK, if we refer to their airline information page, again, under How To and Handy Hints, reissue after departure, use historical fares in effect of original ticket issuance. If tax is changing the return sector within the same country or region, which they are, we're just changing booking class, then you reassess at historical fare and your YQ will not need to be reassessed. So I can be confident now that I can use my .t fare quote entry, quoting historical fare and historical taxes. So our entry we would use would be FQ, carrier EK, .t, and we just want to backdate to our initial original ticket issuance date. So I'm just going to display HTE and just going to the very first e-ticket, which was this one here. You can see it has been exchanged, and this ticket was issued on the 20th of August 2014. So we do need to go all the way back to the original ticket issuance date, the very first one. So if we go fare quote carrier EK .t 20 August 14, and I want to quote sectors 1 and 2 and 5 and 6 together. We'll hit enter, and Galileo has returned a perfect fare quote for us. We have no errors in our file fare. We did just use the FQ, we didn't force any fares in, and it has returned a fare quote for us. So our old fair value was $16.99. Our new fair value is $17.49. So our fair difference that we have there is $50. So now we need to work out our tax difference. I'll just have a look here for our Emirates, comparing total tax to total tax. So our old tax value will be a little tricky on this one because the ticket has been reissued before. But what we can actually do is just add up the amounts that are on our e-ticket. So we've actually got our 55 AU here and our XT tax here. And this XT tax is a breakdown on our ticket here, which consists of all of the taxes on our ticket. So if I add up our 55 AU here and our 501.39, we get an old tax value of $556.39. We can ignore this 200 OB because that is the reissue fee from the previous reissue. We don't need to take that into account. Our new tax values here is $556.39, which gives us $0 tax difference. Step 3 of our additional collection. So we've done our fare difference, we've done our tax difference, and now we want to find out what our change fee is. So I just need to do a fare display for our original e-ticket. 13 October, Gladstone to Dubai, on Emirates as a returned fare. And we want to backdate our fare quote to the 20th of August, which was our original ticket issuance date, because we're actually looking for this fare here, which is the fare that we are changing. So we'll just hit enter on that one. Now we'll just amend this fare display to include the year 14, so we're actually looking for fares 13 October 14, and it's not looking for next year. Hit enter, and we just want to match this fare here, Tango 4 AU PAU1, Tango 4 AU PAU1. FM display 1 and paragraph 16 for our fare rules, and it says changes at any time per ticket, charge $200 for reissue or revalidation. So we now have our fare difference, we have our tax difference, and we have our reissue fee as well. So our fare difference was $50, our tax difference is $0, and our reissue fee $200. So we have a total additional collection of $250. Okay, so let's move on now to reissues ex other countries. To calculate the correct Adcol, we need to use the local currency that the ticket was issued in, and then we convert that amount into Australian dollars. This is the standard IATA ruling, but there are some airlines that require you to use the AUD equivalent levels, but this information will be on the airline information pages if it is different. One main example is Malaysian Airlines, and they do use the equivalent AUD levels, but that is not the standard procedure. And once again, that info is available for you on the airline information pages. So if we work through this example together on the screen, and what we'll do is just go through calculating the fare difference for reissues ex other countries. So we work out the difference in the local currency. In this example here, it's euro 550 less euro 450. So we do receive a difference of euro $100. And then we convert this amount into AUD to obtain our actual fare difference in Australian dollars. So the entry that we use for that is a native Galileo entry to convert currency to currency, which is our FZS entry. So here you can see we've got FZS, euro 100 into AUD is equivalent to $137 in AUD. So if we have a look at this exercise here, we have our original e-ticket in Great British pounds, $37. Our new fare amount from our filed fare is Great British pounds, $59. So we want to use the Great British pounds values, find the difference, and then convert that to Australian dollars. So our new Great British pounds is $59, and we just minus our original Great British pounds, $37, which gives us a difference of 22 Great British pounds. We would then go into Galileo and use our FZS entry, Great British pounds, $22, into AUD, hit enter, and it gives us an equivalent AUD amount of $43. That is the fare difference that we need to work out and that we need to obviously quote for our additional collection. Taxes are always in AUD and they are worked out as per the airline's policy, whether they are total tax to total tax or individual tax code to individual tax code. So this is just to reiterate that X other countries, we need to work with the currency that the ticket is issued in. Then we just convert that amount in Galileo into Australian dollars. So that is the end of part 2. Thank you so much for your participation. And once again, I will see you back again for part 3.